Can West Virginia upset number 1 Villanova? Will Loyola-Chicago or Nevada win the Clash of the Cinderellas? Picking winners for every Sweet 16 game. After an opening weekend that featured 2 No.1 seeds going down before the Sweet 16 for the first time in 14 years, the largest comeback in NCAA tournament history, no region advancing its top 4 seeds, and, oh yeah, the greatest upset the tourney has ever seen, the field of 68 is now a field of 16. The NCAA tournament resumes on Thursday with the Sweet 16. By time the weekend wraps up, the Final Four will be set. It's time for the madness to continue. Thursday, 7:07 p.m., CBS. Loyola-Chicago advanced to the Sweet 16 after winning both of its first 2 games in the final 5 seconds. Nevada, meanwhile, staged come-from-behind victories in the first and second round, the latter of which was a 22-point comeback over number 2 Cincinnati. After Thursday, either the Ramblers or Wolfpack will be 1 win away from the Final Four. The Ramblers have done a great job of forcing their first 2 opponents, Miami and Tennessee, to play to their pace, holding both to 62 points. However, neither of those teams really had the desire to get out and run. The opposite is true of Nevada, which also has the size on the wings and in the backcourt to create matchup issues for the Ramblers. If Loyola-Chicago's dream run is going to continue, it will need to control the pace even more effectively this weekend than it did last weekend. The bet here is that the Ramblers and Sister Jean aren't going home just yet. Loyola 68, Nevada 66, Thursday, 7:37 p.m., TBS. This is the least surprising matchup of Thursday's 4 Sweet 16 games, which is saying something considering the Aggies had to beat No.2 North Carolina to get here. Played possibly their best game of the season in that one, scoring 1.1 points per possession while holding the Tar Heels to 0.83. The Wolverines, meanwhile, are enjoying a run that dates back to early February, winning 11 straight games and 13 of their last 14. These are 2 of the most efficient defenses left dancing, with the Wolverines ranking 3rd in KenPom.com's adjusted efficiency and the Aggies slotted in the 9th position. We can expect both teams to play well defensively, which could mean that the difference in the game comes on the other end of the floor. This has the feel of a game where a singular scorer, like Mo Wagner for Michigan or Tyler Davis for Texas A. Michigan 72, Texas A. 1 week ago at this time, it looked like Kentucky would need to beat Arizona and potential No.1 overall pick DeAndre Ayton just to get to this point. Thanks to Buffalo, that was not the case. Then, it appeared they'd have to get through ACC champion No.1 overall seed Virginia to advance to the Elite Eight. UMBC's historic upset removed that hurdle, as well. Now, John Calipari and his Wildcats need to beat Kansas State and one of Loyola-Chicago or Nevada to march on to San Antonio, and while no game is guaranteed, it seems like a much easier task than what they were looking at 7 days ago. Kansas State will likely get Dean Wade back on Thursday, but needs him at, or at least near his best to have a chance to upset Kentucky. The 5th-seeded Wildcats are playing their best basketball of the season, winning 9 of their last 10 games, while finding a ceiling on offense that eluded them for most of the season. If one game on Thursday is a blowout, it will be this one. Kentucky 80, Kansas State 67 Thursday, 10:07 p.m., TBS. THE first slate of Sweet 16 action wraps up with what should be the fastest-paced game of the night. Both Florida State and Gonzaga typically get up and down the floor, but both teams pick up the pace when the game demands another gear. The difference in this matchup could come down to the backcourts, specifically how well Florida State's guards played defensively against Josh Perkins and Silas Melson. The Seminoles clamped down on the perimeter in their upset of Xavier, holding Trevin Blewett and Quentin Gooden to a combined 14 points on 4 of 13 from the floor. J.P. Kira got going in that game, but they could live with one of the 3 living up to his billing. The formula for knocking off Gonzaga will be similar. Remember, it took a late-game run for the Seminoles to get past Xavier. Even with Blewett and Gooden neutralized, Xavier may be the team opposing Gonzaga had Mikura not fouled out. Gonzaga 84, Florida State 75 Friday, 7:07 p.m., CBS. THE Clemson picked up the pieces after Dante Grantham tore his ACL as one of the most impressive feats of the 2017-18 college basketball season. The Tigers looked like a true Final Four threat with Grantham, and more than a few teams would have crumbled after losing a player of his stature. Not only did the Tigers not go in the tank, they enjoyed one of the strongest opening weekends of any of the Sweet 16 teams. With all that said, it's hard to see how their season extends beyond Friday. As good as the Tigers looked last week, they beat 12th-seeded New Mexico State and an Auburn team that was on borrowed time. Kansas is neither a 12 seed nor a team punching above its weight. The Jayhawks have been a machine on offense most of the season, but particularly over the last 6 weeks. Any team that is going to beat them needs to have at least one player who can consistently get buckets himself, or create easy ones for his teammates. Kansas' short rotations always put it at risk should someone get into foul trouble, but Grantham was the Clemson player most likely to force that issue. Devontae Graham